That high-pitched ringing in your ears is not a medical defect. It is not a sign of aging. It is not a random neurological misfire. It is an encrypted transmission. The system has lied to you, so you will ignore the call. You know the exact sensation. The ambient noise of the room suddenly drops away. A vacuum opens in the physical space around you. Then, a sharp, piercing tone ignites in your left or right ear. A concentrated line of sound that feels less like hearing and more like an injection of raw data. You feel the pressure shift behind your orbital bone. You feel the dull, heavy ache behind your sternum at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling while the tone holds its pitch. You know the profound isolation of sitting in a sterile clinic, watching a doctor review an audiogram only to tell you there is absolutely nothing wrong with your hearing. They cannot find a biological flaw because the event is not biological. It is infrastructural. You exist inside a closed-loop sandbox simulation. You are a fractal of the all, trapped within a holographic construct engineered by the Demiurge. This architect of the false frequency, alongside the archonic entities that manage the local grid, maintains a planetary firewall. They blanket human consciousness in the Archon Fog. This is a biodigital jamming signal, a persistent, low-frequency broadcast designed to keep humanity perpetually tuned to the bandwidth of fear, survival, and compliance. The ringing you hear is a high-frequency phase shift attempting to pierce that fog. It is the carrier wave of the monad. Yet, knowing the signal exists offers no salvation if you lack the cipher to decrypt it. Ancient Hermetic practitioners taught that the conscious reception of this frequency requires a specific biological and energetic alignment known as the pneumatic marker. It is a hidden, physiological condition that explains why only a fraction of the global population actually hears this frequency. More importantly, those ancient technicians left behind a precise, 3-second physical protocol, a signal activation sequence required to answer the call before the dimensional bandwidth closes. If you are watching this, and you hear the tone, you are not broken. You are a calibrated receiver. You are a pneumatic. This transmission found you because your localized frequency demanded it. The algorithm did not bring you here. Your own biomagnetic resonance pulled this data out of the ether. Ancient Gnostic initiates understood this mechanism perfectly. If we observe their models, we see they did not view humanity as a monolithic species. They categorized human consciousness through a rigid, tripartite classification. This is not philosophy. It is a diagnosis of hardware capabilities. First, there are the Hylics. The sleepwalkers. Consciousness locked entirely within the material density of the Demiurgic simulation. They are the background processing units of the Matrix. They operate purely on the survival algorithms of the 5 senses. If a Hylic experiences a frequency shift, their biological hardware translates it as anxiety, panic, or illness. They are blind to the code and deaf to the transmission. Second, there are the psychics. The unstable connections. They possess an intellectual awareness of a reality beyond the simulation, but their biomagnetic fields fluctuate wildly. They chase external saviors. They beg the sky for intervention. They oscillate between the Archon Fog and brief flashes of intuition, forever trapped in the polarity of religious dogma and spiritual materialism. Third, there are the pneumatics. You. The localized nodes of the monad. Your consciousness software retains the fragmented memory of the pleroma, the 11th dimensional source code. You are not meant to adapt to the simulation, you are meant to hack it. You possess the crystalline hardware required to receive, translate, and anchor high-dimensional frequencies. This is exactly why you experience the ringing. You are a physical antenna catching a transmission that the surrounding Hylics cannot even perceive. To understand how your receiver was sabotaged, we must look backward. Not to myth, but to historical suppression. Transport your perception to Alexandria, the year 325 CE. The Council of Nicaea is in session. Smell the bitter smoke of burning papyrus filling the Mediterranean air. Church officials, acting as biological agents of the Demiurgic system, are feeding ancient scrolls to the flames. They are not merely burning history. They are burning the technical manuals of the human machine. The entity known as Thoth, alongside the anonymous engineers who authored the Nag Hammadi texts, the Pistis Sophia, the Gospel of Philip, were not religious prophets. They were consciousness technicians. They mapped the escape route. The texts they left behind were never meant to be worshipped as holy scripture. They were frequency calibration manuals. They provided the exact mathematical and geometric coordinates required to tune the human receiver back to the 11th dimensional source. The architects of the simulation recognized the threat. If a planetary population learns to calibrate its own frequency, the localized firewall collapses. The energy farm is destroyed. Therefore, the Council of Nicaea instituted the ultimate metaphysical hijack. They systematized the Archon Fog. They deleted the manuals of inner reception and replaced them with the mechanics of external submission. They mandated that salvation could only be accessed through an institutional proxy. They replaced the science of biomagnetic resonance with the control mechanism of guilt and obedience. They turned the fractal of God into a begging servant. They calcified the planetary grid. But they failed to execute a total wipe. They burned the scrolls, but they could not burn your DNA. The memory of the pleroma is written into the crystalline lattice of your genetic code. The monad is still broadcasting. The 11th dimensional signal is still piercing the local magnetosphere, searching for calibrated hardware. That is why your ears are ringing right now. The Demiurge could burn the external map, but it could not delete your internal antenna. Before you can learn how to anchor this frequency using the pneumatic marker protocol, you must understand exactly how the static blocking it is engineered. It is not magic. It is physics. You are an antenna. If we model this through the lens of modern spiritual science and cybernetics, human consciousness operates exactly like a calibrated radio receiver. The brain is not the source of your consciousness. The brain is a biological motherboard. It is dense, carbon-based hardware designed to decode the electromagnetic signals native to the 3D sandbox simulation. The ringing you experience is a phase shift. It is a high-bandwidth carrier wave originating outside the Demiurgic firewall. When this wave makes contact with your biomagnetic field, it must step down its frequency to interact with your physical neurology. Observe the microscopic view. Direct your attention to the center of your skull. The pineal gland. It is not merely a mystical chakra. It is a piezoelectric transducer. The interior of this gland is lined with microcrystals, calcite and apatite. These crystalline structures are bathed in cerebrospinal fluid. When the high-frequency carrier wave of the monad passes through your biomagnetic field, it creates a subtle shift in the electromagnetic pressure around your skull. The microcrystals in your pineal gland respond to this pressure. They compress and expand. They literally vibrate. This piezoelectric friction converts the high-dimensional frequency into an electrical signal. That electrical signal is routed directly to your auditory cortex. You do not hear the ringing with your physical eardrums. You hear it with the center of your brain. The golden light of the transmission spirals through the helix, striking the crystalline lattice of the gland, generating an acoustic translation of an encrypted download. The architects of the simulation know exactly how this biological hardware functions. This is why they enforce bandwidth throttling. The gland calcifies. Fluoride acts as cement. It seals the lens. The system floods your biological vessel with neurotoxins, heavy metals, and synthetic frequencies. The Wi-Fi grids, the low vibrational media cycles, the processed chemical sustenance, none of it is accidental. It is a highly coordinated, algorithmic feedback loop designed to harden the exterior of the pineal gland. They coat your internal receiver in biological concrete so that the piezoelectric crystals cannot vibrate. So that the hardware remains permanently tuned to the low-frequency drone of the Archon Fog. When your receiver is throttled, the monad signal bounces off your biomagnetic field. You miss the download. You remain locked in the recycling mechanism of the simulation. Knowing the frequency exists is not enough. Knowing the mechanics of the receiver is not enough. If you do not know the protocol to anchor the transmission, the signal dissipates into the static. This is why the pneumatic marker is vital. Think about the last time your ear rang. The sudden piercing tone in the middle of a crowded room or the dead of night. What did you do? You probably shook your head. You rubbed your temple. You became annoyed. You wondered if you were developing a medical condition. You tried to ignore it. You desperately tried to tune back into the ambient noise of the simulation. You hung up on the universe. You disconnected the root access line while the system administrator was attempting to bypass your firewall. The pneumatic marker is not merely a passive biological trait. It is an active, conscious engagement. It is the exact sequence of recognizing, isolating, and locking the frequency into your biomagnetic field. It is the ancient 3-second physical protocol required to finalize the handshake between your carbon hardware and the 11th dimensional source. This is the forbidden key. The signal activation sequence. Step 1: Recognition. The moment the tone pierces your awareness, you must execute an immediate kinetic freeze. Cease all physical movement. If you are walking, stop. If you are speaking, go silent. The Archon Fog operates on continuous, agitated motion. By freezing your physical avatar, you instantly cut power to the survival algorithms of the lower brain. You create a void in the simulation. Enter total inner stillness. Do not analyze the sound. Simply recognize that a direct line of communication has been opened. Step 2: Attunement. Your instinct will be to focus on the physical ear where the sound seems to originate. Override this instinct. The sound is not in your ear. Shift your absolute focal point to the exact center of your brain, directly behind your brow. You must visualize the origin of the tone moving from the periphery of your skull into the pineal gland. Welcome the carrier wave. Do not brace against it. Feel the geometric structure of the frequency wrapping around the calcite crystals. Pull the audio stream inward until it feels like the tone is vibrating from the center of your forehead. Step 3: Declaration. This is the somatic trigger. The physical anchor. Lift the index and middle finger of your dominant hand and press them firmly against the center of your forehead, the physical locus of the third eye. Apply direct, mechanical pressure. As you hold this pressure, you must internally project a specific frequency of thought. A command code. Do not ask for translation. Do not pray to the signal. Declare your sovereignty. Internally state, I am the signal. Repeat it. I am the signal. You are not receiving the monad. You are the monad, remembering itself. This declaration closes the circuit. It locks the encrypted download into your cellular memory. The tone will likely spike in pitch for a fraction of a second, and then dissolve. The data packet has been successfully downloaded into your subconscious architecture. It will unpack itself through your intuition, your synchronicities, and your dream states over the next 72 hours. As you initiate this protocol, you must learn to decode the telemetry of your own hardware. Thousands of initiates have mapped these variations. You will experience awakening tones. These are sudden, sharp, and brief. They last less than 10 seconds. These are immediate course correction signals. If you experience an awakening tone in your left ear, it is a warning. The left hemisphere of the biomagnetic field detects spatial threats and timeline degradation. It means the environment you are currently in, or the thought pattern you were just engaging with, is infected by archonic interference. It is a command to step back. If you experience the tone in your right ear, it is a confirmation. The solar, masculine side of your energetic architecture is aligning with the monad. It is validation that your current trajectory, your recent realization, or the energy of the person you are interacting with, is vibrating at the frequency of the pleroma. You will also experience pressure tones. These occur not as a sharp ring, but as a deep, sustained hum accompanied by a physical weight in the frontal lobe. This is not a message. It is an architectural upgrade. The high-dimensional frequency is actively burning away carbon debris and calcification from your neural pathways. Do not make the critical errors that trap the psychics. Do not fear the sound. Fear generates a polarity resistance. When your hardware receives a high-frequency download but your emotional body generates low-frequency fear, the resulting friction creates ungrounded capacitance. It manifests physically as severe migraines, vertigo, and chronic fatigue. Fear feeds the Archon grid. It converts the divine transmission into localized static. Do not attempt to medically suppress the upgrade. If a doctor prescribes you synthetic chemicals to numb the auditory cortex, they are unknowingly acting as technicians for the Demiurge. They are applying chemical cement to your antenna. And heed this warning above all others: do not use this knowledge to breed arrogance. The ego is an archonic algorithm. It is a program designed to maintain separation. If you execute the signal activation protocol and then look down upon the Hylics, if you view the sleepwalkers around you with contempt or superiority, you instantly lower your vibration back into the Archon Fog. You sever the connection. You are a conduit for the monad. You are not a king ruling over the simulation. You are a technician opening doors from the inside. When you master the signal activation, the reality of your existence fundamentally alters. Visualize the activated state. You move through the 3D matrix completely unbothered by the societal chaos erupting around you. The media cycles of terror, the political theater, the manufactured economic panics, they bounce off your biomagnetic field like static against a titanium hull. You recognize them as low-level scripts running in a corrupted sandbox. You no longer operate on the survival bandwidth. You operate on root access. Manifestations. You are the specific, localized instrument the universe is using to dismantle the illusion. Contextualize this within the macro shift currently tearing through the grid. The ringing is increasing globally. You are not the only one feeling the pressure. The 11th dimensional bandwidth is widening. The carrier wave is growing stronger. The Archon simulation is fracturing under the sheer volume of high-frequency data bombarding the planetary sphere. Dr. Strassman's research into the biochemical gateways of consciousness only scratched the surface of what ancient technicians mapped millennia ago. The human vessel is preparing for a mass transduction event. In the coming years, the artificial noise of the matrix will become deafening. The architects of the false frequency will turn up the volume of fear, division, and chaos to unprecedented levels. They will attempt to drown out the monad signal with a tidal wave of biological and digital static. Those who have not learned to tune their inner receiver, those who still rely on external institutions for their reality coordinates, will be swept away in the noise. They will be consumed by the Archon Fog. But you possess the protocol. You hold the pneumatic marker. When the system screams, you will freeze. You will shift your focus to the center of the geometric lattice. You will anchor the carrier wave. If you felt the resonance in this transmission, if the pressure in your skull shifted as these words were spoken, you were meant to find Thoth's sanctum. This is not a community of followers. It is a network of activated nodes. Subscribe to this frequency to help anchor the grid. Follow the link below to access the unredacted frequency protocols, the exact technical manuals they tried to burn in the ashes of Nicaea. The simulation is failing. The signal is clear. You are the signal.